Welcome to Weekly Digest, where we highlight the works of ministers of government as they push the administration's development agenda. The National Assembly on Monday approved an additional $44.8 billion for major transformational work in the housing and water, education, public works, local government, and other sectors. Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, presented the financial paper number 1 of 2022 to the National Assembly on Monday, August 8. Of the amount approved, some $4 billion will be invested into the Guyana Power and Light (GPL) to improve the operations of the power company to better serve Guyanese.
The Guyana Power and Light Inc., to give one example, had accumulated only from its public sector entities receivables in excess of $12 billion, amounts that were due to the GPL and that were not being paid, which resulted in a tremendous liquidity and cash flow crisis at the company. And in fact, this was a cascading problem because amongst the entities that owed the GPL were in turn a number of other agencies who were in similar states of financial distress.
Some 103,000 Guyanese will soon enjoy improved water quality as government commits to constructing 7 new water treatment plants in several coastal areas. This was disclosed by Housing and Water Minister Colin Crowell as the $4.2 billion supplementary budget for coastal water supply was being scrutinized.
GWI is working with a 2021-2025 plan. And in that plan, we have cost, whether it is for ensuring first-time access to water, whether it is for ensuring that we can improve the service, and whether we are talking about the quality of the water. We have cost all of that.
The National Assembly also approved the sum of $3 billion to further improve the lives and livelihood of Amerindians in hinterland and remote communities. The supplementary fund was a commitment made to Amerindian leaders by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali during the recent National Tushaus Council conference. Defending the sum, Amerindian Affairs Minister Pauline Sukai explained that a master plan to bring more development opportunities to Amerindian communities was derived from Tushaus at the NDC meeting, which the massive allocation will greatly complement.
Many of the issues that occurred in the master plan of action revolve around a number of sectors and issues. In this area, we will have attention and focus and priority being placed to agriculture and food security, women's affairs, youth and students and children, or youth and children, facilities, services, infrastructure, ecotourism are some of the areas that the priority focus will be placed.
Amendments to the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act were also passed to ensure the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, meets the requirements for Guyana to secure membership to the Egmont Group. The Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units is an international organization that facilitates cooperation and intelligence sharing among national financial intelligence units to investigate and prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal, during his presentation on the bill, said the amendments to the AML-CFT Act are simple yet significant as Guyana prepares for a review process in the first quarter of 2023.
Guyana will be subject to a peer review through a mutual assessment process during the first quarter of next year. And therefore, it is incumbent upon us to implement all of our outstanding obligations and to ready our fiscal and financial structures so that we can be prepared for that review. Among the recommendations that we are to implement to ready us for that review is to ensure that we join this institution called the Egmont Group, which, Your Honor, is a united body of 167 financial intelligence units across the globe.
The PPPC administration's hallmark Low Carbon Development Strategy, LCDS 2030, outlines a robust mechanism for the mobilization of financing that will be accrued from the country's forest resources. Senior Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh highlighted the strengths of the strategy as he moved the LCDS 2030 motion during the National Assembly.
The 2009 LCDS was a truly pioneering strategy, far ahead of its time and visionary in every respect. Visionary in its articulation on our case for earning revenue in exchange for the climate services that we're providing globally, and visionary in articulating the utilization of these resources to put Guyana on a path of accelerated economic development, but along a low-carbon trajectory.
Amerindian Affairs Minister Pauline Sukai noted that as a part of the national consultation, the LCDS Multi-Stakeholder Steering Committee, MSSC, was re-established to guide the LCDS as it did in the period from 2009 to 2015.
Consultations were taken to every hinterland region, engaging Amerindian leaders and community development chairpersons from clusters within the many districts. To report that there is adequate representation of Amerindians on the MSSC, I am pleased to announce that the recently elected National Tushaus Chair has been included almost immediately upon his assumption to that stakeholder committee.
Meanwhile, Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat restated the PPPC government's commitment to achieving most of Guyana's electricity requirements through renewable energy and utilizing natural gas, while at the same time pushing renewable energy opportunities.
And if the previous administration had gone through with the plans that we would have left behind in 2015, today we would be receiving electricity or power supply at a much cheaper cost than we are paying for it today. We are paying today, Mr. Speaker, close to 30 cents, US cents per kilowatt. Had the previous administration continued with our plans of constructing the Amila Falls Hydro Project, we would have probably be paying at least 50% of that today.
The Industrial Hemp Bill was successfully passed in the National Assembly. Senior Communications Officer Kellon Rover tells us more.
The successful passage of the landmark Industrial Hemp Bill 2022 in the National Assembly will see tremendous diversification of the local economy and provide new jobs in the agricultural and industrial sectors. The new innovative bill, which received the nod from parliamentarians on Monday evening, provides for the regulation of cultivating and manufacturing of industrial hemp and hemp-related products. In reality, it makes way for research to be conducted on the commodity and the establishment of the Guyana Industrial Hemp Regulatory Authority. Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa believes the high-value plant has endless potential for development. He said government is giving the agricultural and industrial sectors the opportunity to grow and exploit industrial hemp in a controlled manner.
Hemp industry is not only about hemp cultivation, but is about the processing and value-added facilities that can be established in Guyana, which will create jobs and generate high returns on investment. Guyana is projected to attain unprecedented growth rate, which no other country in the world is currently projected to achieve in 2022. And in keeping with such growth, our government will continue to provide viable business opportunities to the people of this nation.
The Agriculture Minister pointed out that Guyana, with its expanse of rich, well-drained land, is suitable for hemp production.
Hemp can be grown as a renewable source for raw material that can be incorporated into thousands of products.
The minister said Guyana is poised to tap into the global industrial hemp market.
The $100 million St. Cuthbert's Mission or Procuri Road from the Suzdike-Linden Highway into the community has been retendered. This is as a result of works being terminated due to the inability of the contractor to complete the works. This was also announced by Minister of Public Works Bishop Juan Edgel in the National Assembly on Monday.
That contractor was unable, incapable, and ill-equipped to execute those works. The Honorable Deputy Speaker would be able to concur that I went to Procuri, met with the community, sought to resolve some of the issues, engage the contractor to hire some of the local people who know the area, know where the washouts are, so that they could be involved in the project so we could get it moving. But the reality is we had to terminate this contract.
Minister Edgel committed to having residents involved in the execution of the works. The first lot of the Eccles to Great Diamond 4-lane highway is anticipated to be completed just in time for the fast-approaching Cricket Carnival. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell revealed this on Monday during a side interview.
You have the existing Eccles to Great Diamond 4-lane road that is being done. So that is very visible. You see works are ongoing. In fact, Lot 1, which is from Eccles to somewhere in the vicinity of Providence or Peters Hall, within that proximity, that will be finished ahead of time, and that is because we put a lot of time and effort into getting that first lot completed, and that is expected to be completed before the busy period before Cricket Carnival, right? So you can imagine, because we can envisage what will happen on the East Bank.
Minister Crowell said the supplementary funds will ensure that the works are completed for the event. The project is expected to ease the flow of traffic during the cricket period. Guyana on Tuesday received more doses of Pfizer vaccines. Here is more. 52,800. That is a number of vaccines that were just donated by the United States government in collaboration with PAHO WHO to Guyana's Ministry of Health.
First of all, let me say a big thank you to the government and the people of the United States. At the end of July, all our pediatric vaccines came to an end, and we were really out of vaccines. So this was really a very, very timely donation. And we have seen children coming back to get their second doses. What is very interesting is that in some of the interior areas, like in Region 9, there have been really good uptake of these children vaccines. So we have seen a lot of children coming out, getting the vaccine.
We have been constantly signing new contracts to ensure that we discharge our responsibility to the people of our country. And you are who are contractors and whose contracts were awarded to are person that we have chosen to ensure you help us to execute our work program in a timely manner.
Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa. He was at the time addressing a number of successful bidders who were present on Tuesday to ink contracts for several critical projects to further develop the agriculture sector. 13 contracts were signed, totaling over $610 million. The contracts cater for the supply and delivery of several critical equipment as well as the construction and rehabilitation of vital infrastructure.
So I am appealing to you that let us ensure that we work in a very diligent manner. We know for a fact that the Ministry of Agriculture normally conclude its work program by the end of November. And let us keep that tradition. Let us ensure that we work together. If you have any issue and you can't resolve it with the officers or the permanent secretary, my office is always open.
The signing ceremony was held in the ministry's boardroom. Residents of Lenora and surrounding communities can now benefit from improved healthcare with the recommissioning of the newly retrofitted $915 million Lenora Cottage Hospital in Region 3 on Tuesday. Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips said the smart facility is a commitment of the government to provide improved health services.
As a government, we believe that it is our responsibility to provide adequate levels of health care as an utmost priority to all our people. As mentioned by previous speakers, our government's commitment along this thrust is defined, as you heard earlier, in our pioneering National Healthcare Modernization Program.
Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said with the modernization of the hospital comes a great need for citizens to receive improved services from healthcare providers.
Making sure that when people come to our facility, that we are able to give good service. Now, good service is not only about the technical know-how. A lot of times, good service starts with how you treat people. That is very important.
A new ambulance was also handed over to the hospital. Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Nigel Dharmlal, Minister within the Ministry Anand Prasad, British High Commissioner Her Excellency Jane Miller, and other officials were in attendance. Mainstay Wayaka is Amerindian Heritage Village 2022. The announcement was made by Minister Pauline Sukai at the Umane Yana on Tuesday during an event to observe International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. Minister Sukai said this year's celebrations will deliver the Amerindian culture in a well-packaged form.
September month will bring a whole package of what the Amerindian traditional knowledge is about, what the indigenous culture is about, and what our tradition and custom is like. We will be able to introduce to this country again our unique dances, our music, our food, and of course, the treasure of the way we work, the way we live as one.
The celebration starts with an Amerindian religious service on August 31, with many other activities leading up to the Village Day on September 10. The celebrations will conclude with the traditional Heritage Games on October 9. The recently passed Mental Health Protection and Promotion Bill will make mental health services more accessible to persons in all parts of Guyana. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony on Wednesday noted that enshrined in the law is a series of rights for mental health patients, among them access to care and treatment.
One of the things that the ministry would be doing and have started to do is to make sure that mental health care is incorporated into our primary health care system. By doing that, more people in remote locations and so forth would now have access to mental health care.
The ministry plans to provide treatment and care closer to home. In the case of institutionalization, assessments of the patients will be conducted to have them released as soon as they are better. As Guyana prepares to host matches in this year's Caribbean Premier League, CPL, including the finals, patrons are being encouraged to mask up and get boosted to protect themselves against COVID-19. Minister Anthony noted that the BA.5 subvariant of Omicron, which is currently in circulation, is easily transmissible and can affect persons who were previously infected.
I think we have to get people to exercise more caution. So there's nothing wrong if you're going to the match and you want to wear your mask. Although a lot of people have now dispensed with mask wearing. But it is going to be safe, especially when you're among a lot of people, to be able to wear your mask to prevent yourself from getting infected. The version or the variant or the subvariant that is now circulating, the BA.5, is more contagious. It has been more transmissible than all previous variants.
The minister noted too that visitors are still required to show proof of vaccination and follow the other existing guidelines. British Airways is expected to begin flights to Guyana early next year. This was announced by Public Works Minister Bishop Juan Edgell during a media conference on Wednesday.
We are gathered today to announce the successful completion of negotiations, and today, 10th of August, tickets for Guyana and for London via British Airways goes on sale. British Airways is the new carrier to enter the Guyana market. This service should begin flying and operating within the first quarter of 2023, and today's announcement and start of selling of tickets is to ensure adequate lead time and a proper rollout of this service.
British Airways is the fourth airline to enter the Guyana market since the PPPC government took office in 2020 and will operate twice weekly with a capacity to carry 332 passengers. Tourism Industry and Commerce Minister Onij Walron noted that the addition of the airline means a lot for tourism in Guyana. She noted it also makes it easier for the over 30,000 Guyanese residing in the UK to return to their homeland.
So the investment that we make in infrastructure is all tied into the vision of tourism, and that the vision of tourism is for Guyana to become the premier tourist destination in the world.
Minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Deodat Indar, in brief remarks, noted that the addition of the airline is long overdue.
But it's a testament of Guyana being that investment destination that everyone is pegged on coming, and we have to provide the transportation for them to get here. I mean, it would make no sense if we have a fantastic investment destination, good opportunities, and we don't have the mode and the medium for people to get here.
The Government Technical Institute, GTI, has received a number of instruments valuing some $6.2 million to advance the learning techniques of persons undergoing the land surveying program. Education Minister Priya Manikchan said government is keen on intensifying intervention and matching investment at technical and vocational education and training institutions countrywide.
You're going to see a renewed rollout of how we treat with TVET even from the primary level in our country. Our aim is to ensure that every student exiting high school is competent in at least one TVET area. And that tells you of our understanding.
Minister Manikchan stated that the gifts came at a perfect time when government is expanding the GTI to accommodate about 1,000 persons from March 2023. Government is once again alerting commuters that it has not approved any increase in public transportation fares. Public Works Minister Bishop Juan Edgell made this clear during a press conference on Wednesday.
We have made it very clear. We are not authorizing any increase of fares.
The statement by the minister comes on the heels of complaints by commuters that operators of public transportation are hiking their fares, citing the rise in cost of living. The claim by the operators was dismissed by the minister. The government, through the Central Housing and Planning Authority, CHPA, on Thursday, delivered on its promise to provide fair compensation to 20 squatters of Amelius Ward, Linden, Region 10. These residents were displaced to make way for the construction of an access road leading into the new housing scheme. Spearheading the exercise was Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell.
We've kept to our word, and to let you also know that that is how we will operate as a ministry, and this is how we will operate as a government. We've committed that the development for our sector, the housing sector, is similarly for like in every region, and Region 10 is no exception. We don't just want to allocate, we have to do the infrastructure work. We want to give you a complete scheme that will see the road networking, the drainage networking, the utilities, meaning electricity and water. In order for us to do that, then there may be some inconvenience, and that's I will want everybody to understand. No one wants to develop or to leave an area undeveloped.
The minister explained that close to $4 million is being expended for the first phase of infrastructural development in the area. Additionally, 100 houses will be constructed at Amelia's ward and will ensure residents benefit. Persons living with disabilities will be further empowered as the sod was turned for the construction of a spanking new state-of-the-art business center in Region 6. The center is going to be established at Palmyra Village, East Berbice Quarantine, opposite the Berbice Bridge entrance. First Lady Arya Ali said the center is expected to see the improvement of the lives of persons living with disabilities since it is the first of its kind in Berbice.
Apart from that, we will want to ensure that these persons benefit from training, technical training, and social support so that they can be empowered to lead their own lives. As it is, the majority of persons with disabilities live in relative poverty. That is because a disability increases the risk of poverty through lack of employment and education opportunities, lower wages, and increased cost of living because of that disability. That is why the empowerment of persons with disabilities is important to redefine their possibilities. Persons with disabilities must be empowered through effective engagement in economic, social, and political life, where often economic empowerment has been widely recognized as a key factor for enhancing the autonomy of persons with disabilities and their full participation in society.
Human Services and Social Security Minister Dr. Findia Prasad said that this government is making the vulnerable groups become independent.
I usually use the tagline, moving from a state of dependence to independence, and that is what this project at this site is going to do. Really move people to a state of independence. And when people get to that state of independence and they produce the products that I'm sure will emanate from this business center, we want everyone across this country to be able to support those products, buy from those persons, so that you indirectly or directly will contribute to them being independent. This is what we must do. So while you may not have the privilege, like the Ministry of Housing, to construct this facility, you will definitely have the privilege of supporting those persons who will be equipped with skills and business opportunities when that time comes.
Minister within the Housing Ministry, Susan Rodriguez, noted that the business center will not only transform the lives of the persons living with disabilities, but will ensure that they can fend for themselves.
They are already living a very difficult life, faced with many challenges. The least we can do is to give them the opportunity for them to help themselves to do better.
The center will be constructed through the Ministry of Housing and Water. The plan is to have those persons with disabilities who already make products manufacture them here and then supply to the local and even regional market. Government has signed the US $44 million Guyana Strengthening Human Capital to Education project with the World Bank. The signing was held in the boardroom of the Ministry of Finance Office, Main Street, Georgetown on Friday. Education Minister Priya Manikchan said the initiative will see the further development of Guyanese as the country advances.
The government of Guyana is very clear that in this new Guyana we're building out, it will be people-centered. We know, as well as we know our names, that we could have all the high-rises and beautiful roads and bridges, but were people not developed simultaneously and proportionately with the infrastructure and other developments we see and we intend to promulgate, if we can't develop our people along the same line, that we are going to be poor. Each human being, and that is why it's aptly named the Human Capital Project, each human being must develop along with the beautiful resources that our land is benefiting from, and their families and communities, and then this country as a whole.
Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, who signed on behalf of the government, expressed similar sentiments. He noted that the investment is timely as new job opportunities are emerging.
We believe that there is no investment that is more important at this time than an investment in our people. And not only for emotional or rhetorical reasons, but for very clear, practical, and logical reasons. Given what's happening in the economy, given the dramatic changes that our economy will be experiencing, new sectors emerging. I think the letter mentioned some of these, ICT, climate smart agriculture, etc. Given the emergence of new sectors, the creation of new job opportunities, the demand for new skill types, the reality is that a very different workforce is going to be needed in the very near future to meet the needs of this new and emergent economy. A workforce that will have different, clearly, of course, different skills, will have to be imbued with a very different work ethic, and that will be able to ensure that the needs of this new economy on the labor force side are met.
This has been the Weekly Digest. For more information, visit dpi.gov.gy or visit the Department of Public Information's Facebook page. I'm your host, Shakwan Gill, saying goodbye for now.